How about to the conference rooms?
Everything
is from that camera?
is from this camera.
Right.
This thing goes quiet very quickly.
I love this. Definitely. I definitely do that. You're not coming. Ready?
Hi guys, I think we'll make a start. I know there's a couple of people finishing up, but hopefully they can hear anyway, and they'll join us in. Here we are, they're coming in. I'll hand it over to Pat for a very interesting discussion on public sector and IOE.
Thank you very much, Mark. Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Finn. I'm the Senior Vice President of U.S. Public Sector here in the United States. I have offices everywhere that United flies in the 50 states, so happy to be here in my home city of New York City. We have a very interesting 40 minutes to present to you, and our goal is to share with you real-life situations that are going on how the Internet of Everything is being embraced to provide some benefit to our citizenry. Within U.S. public sector, our vision is to transform the way our U.S. public sector protects, serves, and educates. And we do that through Connect, Innovating, and Leading. And we have two customers who will clearly show you how they're protecting and serving. And you heard about education earlier on with Wim's presentation. But they're doing an awful lot to educate as well. And they're clearly doing it through connecting the Internet of Everything, innovating and leading. So we look forward to having those customers present to you. But before, I can't go anywhere without my CTO, and he's going to take you through a brief discussion about how we're embracing the Internet of Everything in U.S. public sector. So Dan Kent, our CTO of U.S. public sector.
Thanks, Pat. And so you all heard earlier in the presentation about what Cisco defines, how we define the Internet of Everything. It's really taking all of those systems that are connected to the Internet today, starting to connect many other things that have not been connected to the Internet, working with people, working with data, and changing processes the way we do things. In the public sector, we look at this as a way of changing, like Pat said, the way our customers protect citizens and assets of the country. You're going to hear two customers doing that today. We also look at how it's going to change the way municipalities, states, governments serve the citizens, as well as it's going to change the way the education changes how they support their students, whether they're traditional or non-traditional type students. Let me give you just some real quick examples so you put a little more into perspective. So if you look at how we serve our citizens, and one way of doing this is a very simple, if we look at the busing industry and busing in municipalities, being able to connect those buses to the Internet, being able to have a connected bus, mapping with GIS, writing an application, gives now those people that ride buses a view of where the bus is, how long they have to wait, get downstairs to catch that bus. Very simple example. There are many, many more of these in that space of servicing. When we look at educating, and you heard a little bit about education earlier today, from the very mundane of how we help our students' lives in campus. Now, if you ever went to college, you had to have lots of quarters to put in those wires. You had to have quarters for vending machines. They're all connected to the Internet now. For two real reasons. One is now my students can go in with their school ID, swipe that, do their laundry. They can use that same ID to get food out of the vending machine. Of course, the other benefit is those companies that are managing those systems now have a way of looking at predictive analytics and getting maintenance on those systems better. So you can start to see that's a real simple, very mundane use of it. But then you look at the way we are changing how our students are educated. And you've heard a little bit about that really with the high-definition video technologies, bringing in professors from various locations to teach within our own university. So it'll continue to see more and more use cases like these, but I just want to give you some specific examples.
So I have the honor of introducing Sheriff Sean Golden, who's going to talk about what he's doing in Monmouth County in law enforcement using technology. So, Sheriff, that's great. It's good that we're only meeting even though I live in Monmouth County for the first time.
Yes, most don't want to meet me that way, right? So,
Great to see you.
Pat and Dan and the Cisco team, thanks for having us here, at least to tell Monmouth County story and the way we've been using Cisco in public safety. First, a little bit about Monmouth County. It's the fourth largest county in the state of New Jersey. We have some 640,000 residents and about 644 square miles, 27 miles of coastline, and one of the hardest hit counties during Superstorm Sandy. So I'll get into a little bit more about how we use the technology during that incident as well. So my name is Sheriff Sean Golden. I'm the Monmouth County Sheriff, have been for 4 years. And as Sheriff, I wanted to, one of my charters, if you will, and one of my goals and objectives was to modernize the Sheriff's Office and all of public safety throughout Monmouth County. Some of the things we did right from the start were we were the first public agency county in the state of New Jersey to have a hub and spoke technology. We used ASA boxes from Cisco to all of our police departments. We have since expanded that to all our fire and first aid stations in the county. We have some 70 plus VPN tunnels on ASA boxes so that we can bring voice, video, and communications and our records management systems over those high-speed data connections to all the public safety users out in the field. Once we established that core network and those VPNs, we brought that further into a mobile environment, and that's what you'll see here. We ended up with our mobile communications trucks. You'll see 2 of them here, deploying that same ASA VPN technology back out through 4G. And we installed Call Manager Express in each one of the trucks with Cisco Voice over IP phones so that we can manage data and voice right to our command vehicles as they were part of the network. And so both of these command vehicles that you'll see were really pivotal for us in Superstorm Sandy's response. We had a north and south command in Monmouth County. Again, 27 miles of coastline. We had 2 major outward command posts, if you will, from the operations center. Both trucks were deployed. And so I think we have Andrew Calvo on the line here. Andrew, are you there?
Yes, I am, Sheriff Golden. How you doing?
Okay, we're doing good. So Andrew Calvo's on my IT staff. Andrew, if you could take us through the truck real quick, we're going to go in. And let's take a look at some of the Cisco gear that we had employed.
This truck that we're going in is FieldCom 2, one of our 2 apparatuses that are pretty much designed to be the same. They do have full Cisco routers, so switches, and a certified call manager system. In addition to that, we also have video phones, which are used to connect to different OEM departments in a time of an emergency. Sheriff Golden?
Yep. So we had put forward the ASA boxes with the Call Manager Express, have the video phone capability. We installed video phones through our partner at Cisco, and Aspire Technologies is our company that had done a lot of the installs for the trucks as well as our new command center. So we had ended up putting video phones at each one of our emergency operations centers in the county, our major EOCs, so that OEM coordinators could communicate back and forth between the Sheriff's Central Command and those outlying posts. So, and then, as you see, we have all Cisco phones. Interoperability is the key for us, so we have them patched through our interoperability switches with all the radios and all the Cisco voice over IP phones, so that they're just an extension off of our regular call manager network. And so, thank you, Andrew. We have
Thank you, sir.
Yep, we have since envisioned a brand new communications center, which is a fusion center of sorts. It has the 911 center, it has our emergency ops center, and all of our real-time video. To give you an idea, Monmouth County has 3 major ferry terminals that feed New York City, 14 train stations, 2 major bus terminals for a lot of our commuter population that goes back and forth from Monmouth County to the city here. So how do we protect that critical infrastructure? How do we maintain interoperability with our public safety teams out there in fire, EMS, and police? And then ultimately our other partners that have come into play. Our school security, as you know, has become really the first and foremost of importance, particularly in light of recent incidents. And so we need to be able to have a network that is capable of interop, that is capable of large data, that is capable of all of that video that we will unveil. So we had embarked on a brand new 911 center. Again, we partnered with Cisco. It's being built. We're actually moving in a couple weeks. And it's a 100,000 square foot plus facility, of which we have all Cisco Nexus core switches and Catalyst switches feeding the whole entire facility. And again, incorporating that hub and spoke technology, both the mobility part and to all our public safety agencies in the county, all coming back to the core. And so we're delighted to be a partner of Cisco's. It's something that we're looking forward to. I hear it's quite the network that we put in. I'm somewhat of an IT kind of admirer, and but my IT staff tells me it's really going to be fantastic. So that's the Monmouth County story in a nutshell, and I'll turn it back
Thank you,
over
Sheriff.
to you.
Just real quick, one of the things you did do an excellent job is talking about how you're using voice and data as well as video in order to control and manage all this stuff. But there was those connections to the radios, the actual radios that the first responders
we did a lot of the interop, so we were able to tie that in through some interop machines. Yep.
And so it wasn't just kind of the Cisco infrastructure in the places where the sheriff had locations. He was actually touching the first responders and hearing about what was going on in their particular area that allowed those control centers to act and respond. So thank you for the work that you're doing. I'm looking forward to coming down and visiting you. Next up, we thought we'd share with you what's happening in the correctional facilities in White Plains, or in Westchester County. And we have Captain Mark Reiner, who is here to talk about how we're using technology, video technology primarily, to actually save costs, be more productive, and ensure safety in the correctional institutions. Captain, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody. My name is Captain Mark Reimer. I was manager of the Technical Service Unit in Westchester Department of Corrections from 2005 to 2010. During that time, we go back and introduce where our jail is. We're located in Valhalla, New York. We have a capacity of 1,824 inmates. We currently hover around 1,300. We process anywhere from 9,000 to 10,000 inmates admissions and discharges a year. And we're located right in front of the Westchester Medical Center. So I think it's the second or third largest county facility in the state of New York. Now, one of the things we've been able to do is take a lot of the business workflow that's involved in a jail environment. You think about what's involved in coming to visit, coming to a jail, coming to visit an offender, one of your family members or one of your clients if you're an attorney. You have to get in your car, drive to the jail, show your ID, be processed, wait online, wait for the person to come down. Hopefully there's no codes going on in jail that could delay your time there, and then drive back. What we do is we're able to interrupt that whole workflow and provide people, professionals, other agencies, other law enforcement agencies, everybody that has business to do in the jail, with a direct video connection from here, whether you're in a Cisco lobby, or from your office, or from an airport. You can log on and visit with somebody, take care of business, and log off. Much simpler. It saves us transporting from within the jail. It saves us from having to process everybody from coming to the jail. I'll start with one of our biggest success stories, the bail expediting program, which is where our video visitation unit started. We have the Office of Bail Expediter that would have to meet with every one of our offenders. They would have to drive to the jail, interview the offenders, go back to the office, make phone calls, and help those who qualify for the program arrange for their bail. Now it's done through video. They've eliminated their car, eliminated all transportation budgets, and all that time they've been able to recapture. Probation, another agency that has met with a lot of success, they would have to do pre-sentence reports. What's involved in, they would have to, the average distance from the probation office to the jail is 26 miles round trip. They would have to drive there, come to the jail, sit, wait for the offender to be produced, and they would have to do this multiple times a week and do a 1-hour interview. Now, the probation officers are doing it from their kitchen table, from their dining room. They have a flex day. They're buying their own webcams and using their own computers to log on and be more productive with their time. And it's easier for us because think about what it takes to transport an inmate off-site or transport somebody. We have to provide security to the hospital if the inmate has a clinical care visit. We have to send 2 armed officers into the emergency room, which often disrupts people that are waiting there, and wait for them to see a doctor. We have the technology to have that doctor come into the video. Now, I have Sergeant Chris Smith on the line, who's actually sitting in one of our hearing rooms, and I'll let him talk about how this room is utilized in courtroom proceedings and how he's been able to save and interrupt a lot of the workflows and make some serious changes. Chris?
Thank you, Captain Reimer. My name is Sergeant Christopher Smith. I'm the current director of the Technical Services Unit here at the jail. Currently, I'm sitting in a room with that we conduct what we call 50H hearings, which are mental competency hearings for inmates, and it's part of a court proceeding. We also have we do family court hearings out of this room as well, and what that does for us, it saves us on transportation costs of transporting inmates or bringing people from different places and saving on that time. We're currently trying to expand on that to conduct other court-type proceedings, but unfortunately that would take some law changes in the state of New York to start doing some arraignments and other court proceedings, which we're working on and trying to lobby for. But this, we're trying to expand out as much as we can. We currently have 80 video visitation units installed throughout the facility, and we're hoping to get more installed as well and to utilize this technology as much and as best as we can.
Thank you, Sergeant Smith. Just to give you a visualization of what we've been able to save, one of the first 58 hearings that we conducted was with somebody that was in Rochester, a former inmate that was discharged, sentenced to state time. They were transported up to Rochester. The county attorney had to get a stenographer, and they were prepared to drive to Rochester, get a hotel room, spend the night for a 3-hour deposition. What we've been able to do since we've installed this technology is we can connect with Rochester, produce the inmate through video, and you can see how the technology has drastically improved with virtual presence technology. It's live, high definition. It's just almost as if you were there. And they're able to achieve the same success with the deposition as they would have been able to do in person. Now, one of the evolving areas in corrections that video has really been able to help is discharge planning. We discharge 9,000 to 10,000 people a year. New York State is closing some of the largest mental health hospitals. And where are all these people coming? They're coming right into our jails. We're seeing an influx of them. We're treating them. They're taking our resources. But we just can't give them a bus pass and say, here, go on back in the community and have a nice day. We need to have follow-up care. We need to bring the mental health community into the jail. Now, these people in the community have no budgets to perform this. They don't have time to drive to the jail, wait, and do a physical interview in person. What we've been able to do with this technology is provide this service, provide them the ability to do this, because they all have computers. They just get a webcam, and they can now do these interviews to make sure that these offenders are placed in proper supervised housing, placed in where their care is addressed, where medication will be given to them, where services will be provided. And we can advise the community, hey, this guy's coming back in. We need to keep an eye out for him, and we need to make sure services are applied here. That's one of the big things where we've seen a lot of changes, and we're going to see a lot of growth in the video industry in corrections.
Captain,
Yes, sir.
Court proceedings, you mentioned you're looking at different avenues. What sort of, could it get to the point where it could be a full-fledged trial by video?
I don't ever see it becoming through a full-fledged video trial, because everybody wants to have their day in court. Nobody wants to take away someone's presence in front of a jury. You want to put if you're innocent until proven guilty, you put your best foot forward and you want to be in front of the jury. What we're talking about is ancillary proceedings, evidentiary hearings, process arguments, things like that, where you're not in front of a jury. This takes a lot of time. Westchester County we have 28 municipal courts, local courts. We provide transportation. That means we have to have 2 officers with weapons, with cars, with vans. It costs a lot. It costs millions of dollars a year. Some of the other jails in New York State, they have 60 to 70 officers in their transportation unit. And a lot of and it's overtime. If the court proceedings go long, it's all overtime. We have to bring them back and process them. And a lot of these are for 10-minute hearings, 10-minute little sidebar hearings, which could be done through video. The inmate, we have some family courts, Chris, you could probably back me up on this, where inmates were working in the kitchen in the morning. They'd come upstairs, do their video court for 10 minutes, go back upstairs and back to work. So they like it, but for the most part, we're not seeing the buy-in because the state law requires consent of both parties, and we're finding that right now the inmates like to go for the drive. They like to wave to their friends in the courtroom. They like getting out. So, we hope to see some changes there.
Kevin,
Yes.
just a small question. How do you guys manage the security in this communication, considering the fact that online communication, online video can be easily hacked? Have you guys considered the fact when you actually transfer different sorts of information via video, and do you guys keep in mind that this video could be able to be hacked?
Well, I trust the encryption from the vendor. Quite honestly, the video transmissions are encrypted. I have to trust that it's going to be okay. We don't monitor any conversations or any video between attorneys and their clients.
Okay.
None of that. That's completely exempted. We do monitor the ones with civilians or somebody else. I always say to attorneys, they come in and say, wait a minute, what if my video is recorded? How would I know? I said, well, listen, if I recorded your video, that's the greatest acquittal gift I can give you. Are you kidding me? There's no way I'm going to want to be responsible for that. Not a chance. So once they see that and see that it's not in our interest, we have no interest in doing any of that. We trust the encryption. You get very technical. We'd probably make a technical argument over that on the point-to-point encryption between the units and where it's vulnerable, but that would probably be a bigger,
But both
more
captain
story.
and the sheriff talked about VPN tunnels and the importance of VPN tunnels and the use of that in order to protect what's being transmitted.
Right. Chris, you want to talk about that some more?
Yes, we are currently using a VPN tunnel for all of our video visitation units, which allows us to lock down access a lot better than just an open access. With the encryption on top of that, we're fairly confident of our security.
And then the only other point I wanted to make, Captain, is New York State is very different than other states in the Union.
Yes.
Where you have to actually bring the prisoner to
Correct.
court.
There are many
other
states that are much more open
Yep.
with their laws that allow for video arraignments, video hearing, and video court proceedings. Video witness. Texas. Dan, what's that city in Texas? Grand Prairie, Texas. They bring their witnesses in through video. The police officers, for example, if I have to go testify when I had a unit, I would have to sit outside a courtroom for days waiting to see when I'd be called. Grand Prairie, Texas, they don't do that anymore. The officers are called in 40 minutes, they go to their station, and they can testify through video. And everybody, the defense attorney has open access to them, and the prosecutor, and it's a very live environment. It's all recorded, and it's a much better process, more cost-effective process for everybody.
In correctionals, do you guys keep the surveillance of the inmates via this type of video?
We do through video. We have surveillance. We have over 1,000 cameras in our jail. We don't use the video court system to record their activities. We have another system with a Cisco backbone, all the switches through DVRs. That's a different type of technology, different application. Anybody have any other questions? Or Chris, did you have anything to add on the improvements that I may have left out?
No, I think we both covered it.
Okay.
Other than the inmates objecting because they like to take the drive, did their attorneys also object to the increased use of video?
No, because the inmates object. The attorney just goes along with it. It also depends on how busy the attorney is. Sometimes if the attorney can come in through video, it saves them time. You know, one of the interesting things we found is sometimes it can be too efficient. We actually had one attorney, I think it was 457, some attorneys that are paid for by the state, and they bill their time. So we found a little resistance with them because they'd rather wait in the jail, read the newspaper, because they're being paid for it. Why not? They have nothing else to do, so they'll sit there for an hour, hour and a half. So we had to talk to their administration and say, hey, you're using taxpayer money to pay your guys to sit and read the newspaper. Let's boost up the efficiencies here. So we've seen a bigger response now because they can log on, do their 10-minute interview. Legal aid, here's a big example. I could go on and on about this. Legal aid, a lot of times they don't move their defendant is, the person they're representing, until they're in court. They'll just get to the courtroom and say, oh, hi, I'm representing you, let's talk about our case. Now they can actually do it from home or do it from their office and log in and say, hi, I'm representing you, I'll be there tomorrow, meet you there. Another thing we've been able to do with video visitation units. Chris said there's been 80 units in our jail that's been installed. We had a big chickenpox outbreak in dorms, 3 dormitories. There's like 170 inmates down there. Now, when you have a medical quarantine, they don't go anywhere. They don't go to court, they don't go to visits, they don't go to rec, they nothing. They were quarantined for 8 days. Now, they're going to be pretty hostile over this time if they can't visit their family, if they can't talk to their attorney or things like that. Through video, we were able to provide services, provide pastoral care, provide mental health care, provide all these visitations through video and keep the tensions down while maintaining the quarantine. So that's just another area of on it. Yes?
You mentioned it was cost efficient, but did you give an example of how much money has the public sector saved?
Well, the probation department has saved at least $20,000 a month in reduction of their vehicles, their transports, and their time in recruit savings. The bail expediter, I ran the numbers years ago. It's over $10,000 a month just in their time. You figure the hourly wage, the drive, the car, eliminating the car, probably even more. I don't have the numbers. Sorry, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. But when you're talking into secured transports, having officers bring up the inmate, putting them in waist chains, putting on their weapons, getting in a van, driving to court, sitting there for hours, coming back, all on overtime. Overtime and corrections goes together. The costs could be into the savings could be into the millions, right off the top of the bat if the law would change and we were able to process these through video.
Kevin, just 2 more questions.
Yes.
This platform is working only in correctional system, or is it working in federal prisons as well?
I can't speak to federal. I don't know what they're doing. I know we've had federal proceedings. I've dealt with Chris. Do you deal with the feds much with the courts now?
We do, but it's not as often as other agencies. It's very rare that we deal with the feds, but mostly local and county facilities.
I'll give you another example of a huge cost savings. When we have the mentally ill, we're getting an influx of mentally ill. We'll have people go on suicide watch. Inmates come in and say, I want to kill myself. Okay, well now we have to put an officer that sits in front of that inmate and watches them 24 hours a day, every day, 3 shifts a day. That's big money. That's an unanticipated post, time and a half, that's overtime. Through video, we have the technology to have a psychiatrist that may not be on duty, maybe a Sunday, maybe a holiday weekend. Take the laptop home. We could call that psychiatrist and say, listen, we have a case. We need you to talk to this guy. He can dial in, speak to him through video, bring it down, prescribe some medication, and get that guy off suicide watch. That's a hard savings to corrections. I believe Putnam County saves over $20,000 a month instituting that savings, that process. That's a technology we have that we can do.
Kevin, looking forward into the future, what do you expect on technologies in prisons? What do you guys look forward onto the technology applied to prisons?
I see technology, I see video growing exponentially. I see prisons being built around video. So, for example, the old-style jails have bars, tiers. There's no room for any kind of electrical equipment. New jails are going to be built all around electrical equipment. You're going to see kiosks in the housing units that are going to deliver law library services, that are going to deliver informational videos, that are going to deliver video visitation, mental health services, informational services, commissary services, sick call services, all kinds of things that we used to have to do manually. Think about all these services that we could manually, physically, bring, escort, walk back. Now we can do it right there. Address all these problems right there and improve it.
How long has this been in effect?
We started in 2005. We actually entered into a private partnership to develop the first video visitation system, and now it's been going on. They're still going on now. Tablets. I didn't know how long I wanted to take. Tablets are going to be a huge thing in jails. You think about the workflow processes. Jails are notoriously behind the times of technology. People like their workflows. People don't go into jails to embrace and develop technology. It's just that way. We go in to watch inmates and provide security. It's notoriously redundant, paper-based, form-based systems. We can use tablets to replace a lot of this, to consolidate workflow, to consolidate information, bring it together, make it easier for the officer to fill out forms, to get the services to certain individuals, and to communicate with those services. So I see tablets being a huge advancement in corrections as we go forward. Some jails, I understand, are even providing inmates with tablets to have access to their law library. Think about what it takes to keep a law library going. All the books, all the publications, all the shelves, the staff, having a law librarian there 5 days a week. That's a lot. Now we can provide that law library. We can update it without having to buy a book, which is very expensive. We can update it electronically and provide it right to the room. So that's a huge future I see for corrections coming down the road.
If I could just pass that question over to the sheriff as well, I would love to hear your response to what you see the future of law enforcement.
Yeah, I agree with Captain. A lot of it's video, even out in the field. We were talking about all the video that has to come back. Right now, as one of our experiments through our ASA boxes, we have our one of our larger regional school districts. We're piping all of the video from the high school to the patrol car out in the field directly. So if there's some type of incident, the officer can bring it up real time on the way there, or command outside the school, they would have real time video. So I mean, that's where we're moving to. In our jail, same thing. We're looking at video visitation, and Westchester's really been a model that corrections are looking at, so that we can emulate that whole video visitation process and some of those other processes, particularly with psych and medical services that are very time-consuming for the officer. So we're looking at that as well. But really, the drive, and one of the things we built in Monmouth County in terms of our core network, and why we're large enough, because we know we're going to have live video feeds from all over the county, not just our critical infrastructure, but those things like the high schools, the street cameras, all of those are coming into a real-time feeding center.
I'm trying to think of the actual police officer in your county. In the future, this officer will have to carry its own camera with him in order to provide communication with the trust?
It's funny you say that. I mean, there are companies out there that already, one of our departments experimented with the camera mics that record encounters with subjects. So, that's part of what we're talking about in the public safety sector, is that move to video. I know the captain probably does it in jail. All our officers on our response team, they have a camera with them at all times. Yes. And so we want to feed that live back to the control room. Right? So if they're going on some type of disturbance in one of the housing units, they're carrying a camera with them to record the whole event. So if they have to suppress an individual or use some type of force, that it's all recorded for legal purposes. And so that really is the driving force behind it. I think the captain would agree.
Yes, we videotape all of our responses and all of our incidents whenever the ESU goes out. We report everything.
Well, under Oprah, some of it, but some of it's security too, and some of this doesn't fall under Oprah. When you talk about HIPAA violations with medical and psychological visits and all, it's not operable, at least in New Jersey.
No, we don't. We would provide the video if we have a court order to provide it. It's not something that's foilable because from a security perspective, if you had access to all of our camera angles and camera footage, you could determine blind spots. You could feed information and say, okay, listen, I want to bring you drugs, but you have to do it over in this corner because the camera doesn't quite capture that. So this is how we're going to do it. You could learn a lot. So, no, we don't release that public.
We've run into this encounter over at our courthouse, too, as well, where some of the footage was not operable under the Open Public Records Act for security reasons. and we've tested that with our judges, our assignment judges as well. Say is what is operable, what's not. So, but that's evolving as well. There's more cases to come.
I have a question about your plans for interoperability with other emergency services, because you mentioned Wi-Fi mobility, but I would gather there are still some services that are cellular based. So how do you see that integration happening? Because that would be better for emergency response.
What we did I can speak for our county. We instituted we have a VPN out to all our mobility devices, and it's a total roam software. I forget the name of the VPN company. I'll think of it in a minute. But it used to be PADCOM Total Roam. That allows us to differentiate between our own secure Wi-Fi network, and if it's not available, it flips to 4G. It's agnostic to the officer or the car computer itself. They don't really have to do anything for that. And is Bobby still there? Bobby, what's the name of our VPN software?
I remember the old client.
Yeah, which was PADCOM, which was Total Roam. So, but it's agnostic to the officer in terms of protecting our Wi-Fi networks and then going out to 3G or 4G. So the officer themselves do not have to do anything inside that mobility device.
Okay, just switches from one network
Switches from one to the other and keeps that VPN tunnel up and running.
Okay, and what about interoperability and collaboration at your command center, maybe with fire department or...
Yeah, that's why we created that VPN tunnel to each one of our fire stations and our police stations as well. So not even our mobile, because we'll have some 600-700 mobile devices out there logged on every day in terms of whether it's a tablet, Panasonic Toughbook, all that comes back in via VPN. NetMotion, Bobby, NetMotion is the company that we use. I know what I think of it. And so they allow us to not only create the VPN tunnel, but NetMotion software on top of those Cisco appliances, that allows us to really take charge of that mobility device. So if we have to do a software upgrade to that device, as long as it's on and our network is sensing that, my IT guys can put a deployable software package through that connection, that wireless connection. So that saved us from, we just went through this, we went for an upgrade on our public safety software that goes out to all the cars. And that would have been 600 mobile devices that my IT staff would have had to go out and touch. And with NetMotion and with Cisco and all the VPN tunnels coming back, we manage those machines remotely so we can put that deployable package without having to touch each one of those fire truck computers or police car computers.
I recently asked Captain about the prison of the future, transcending the same concept under the Internet of Everything concept onto you, onto a policeman. How do you look onward, like 10 years, 20 years, and look onto the police officers of the future? Yeah. Considering that some people always think about it as the typical robot that it's going to be the next policeman.
Yeah.
But thinking that video has evolved so much that actually has transcended your job.
I think we're going to see a lot of the smartphone type devices, whether they're proprietary to maybe a specific vendor or whether they're open source, but on our network still secure. I think that's the way it's going to be going. Right now, we have police officers and firefighters, they have the Toughbook in the car. We have a lot of public safety users calling for tablets and going to a tablet rather than a Toughbook, so that maybe each officer is going to be assigned one now and not have it just in the car itself. And so, we see that evolving right now. Later on down the road, I really think each officer will have some type of smartphone device that will have a lot of the applications on it that will allow them to just, take the 4G and sweep the scene, and that's piped back, right to the command center real time. So I think that's where you're going to see law enforcement go in the future.
Does Monmouth County participate in the network in New Jersey by mutual?
We do not. We've looked at Mutual Link, so we have IP'd all our resources in different IP boxes. It's not Mutual Link. Mutual Link isn't. I mean, it's just taking all those analog radios and putting it into an IP-based system. We've already done that. We just use a different company called Telex, but we take that and run those Telex boxes through Cisco ASAs back through the VPN tunnel, so that we're controlling base stations that were normally analog, but we created them on an IP-based system similar to Mutual Link.
And does this allow your county to communicate with public safety and other?
Exactly. And we have the telex and the ASAs back on those command trucks. So what would take, when you look at our county, for instance, we have over 170 radio frequencies in our county, right? Using those IP boxes and those VPN tunnels, we don't have to have 170 base stations in our command center or in that truck, for that matter. And so we use that IP-based system to communicate back through the network, similar to what Mutual Link is. Mutual Link's a product. There's other products out there, right? But we're doing just that.
Sheriff, does the prison video network connect anyway to the police video in action? Actually,
we don't have that yet. But I think that's what we're talking about is the police stations. They don't have an officer at their desk or their classroom inside the police station.
Like a globalized connection. I mean.
Yeah, it's one of the things going forward that I see in corrections and law enforcement is make sure we have standards-based technology. If I could recommend to anybody, any law enforcement agency out there, is to make sure you employ a vendor that has standards-based technology that can communicate with other people. Because otherwise you're an island unto yourself. If you have an encryption standard that is unique to one vendor, you can't talk to anybody else. So you need to, like, for example, let's say he has a vendor, I have a vendor, they have a vendor in California. That California vendor may not be the same vendor as I have, but through standards-based technology, we can communicate. That's the most important thing to remember going forward.
Any more questions? Sharp Golden, Captain Reamer, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic.
Sergeant Smith, I'll see you later.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Paul, take care.
So let me try to show you examples, real life video examples of all our users. So we're pretty happy that you were able to bring your remote teams in.
Yeah, and you'll see some more examples. Today was public safety. You'll see some more examples tomorrow. You're going to see some kiosks and how that, again, is the Internet of Things, the Internet of Everything brings it together. And I think you'll also see some in the education space as well tomorrow on connected trains. So today was public safety. You'll see some more Internet of Everything action tomorrow. Thank you all very much for coming, and look forward to the next event tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, team. Well, I hope that was an interesting example of just more ways that video and communications are changing industries. So, that's a sort of tip of the iceberg sector and safety and security. We can go into many more fields in defense, in education, all of these different areas that we're focused on. So we're going to wrap up here. You want to grab a drink, a cookie. We're going to try and get out onto the bus quickly. Right, grab and go. Hello, Pam. And we're going to get down to the bus and go around for the World Trade Center tour. We have to be there for